over the past couple years, talking a little bit more about how my perspective has changed with using doTERRA in my functional health practice. And I wanted to keep going a little bit with that. We had talked about the GI map and talked about different pathogens and things in your gut that can affect your emotional stress. We've talked about minerals and how to balance out your minerals and how important that is. And we also had the dentistry class. So I wanted to continue with that thought because when we had the GI map, the gut class, that one was off the record. We didn't record that one, and it was a lot of just open discussion. I didn't even have a PowerPoint. And there were a lot of questions about certain things that I knew we needed to address a little bit more. So today, it was kind of hard for me to explain to Sandy what I wanted to talk about, but we're going to talk a little bit more about more so how digestion affects your emotional stress. But we'll go through that, and I want to do a little bit of a recap for those of you that didn't get to come to my other classes, just so you're kind of on the same page with where we were talking before. But for those of you that don't know me, I've been in doTERRA for 13 or 14. I think this is my 14th year now. And I spent a lot of money trying to figure out what was wrong with me because I had a lot of health issues. And I was stuck in this cycle of trial and error, trying all of these supplements, trying the stuff that my doctors suggested because I was misdiagnosed with multiple diseases and different syndromes. And doTERRA was the first thing that helped. But I was continually looking for what that root cause issue was. What was causing all of my history of health issues, because everything started when I was a teenager and it just got worse and worse and worse over time. And doTERRA kind of kept it at bay, if that makes sense, like gave me back my quality of life, but I didn't feel like I'd figured out exactly what was going on with me and how to really heal. And and being able to do functional lab testing and find out what was going on, what was the root cause of my issue, and then using my doTERRA products to help once I figured out what that root cause issue was really, really powerful for me. And also, I'm a mom of 3, and with each kid, it felt like my health got set back a little bit more. I'd make progress and I'd go back every time I had a kiddo, just because pregnancy is can be so hard on the body. So I sought out functional lab testing and ended up becoming a functional practitioner. And I've wanted to take the knowledge that I've learned and to apply that to our doTERRA principles and to teach my team that. So that is part of what I'm trying to do tonight. Because you may also feel like you were caught in that cycle of trial and error, because you can go that allopathic route with your doctor, get those blood tests. And I can't tell you how many times I hear people say, oh, well, everything was normal at my doctor's, everything came out right, so nothing's wrong. But then if those lab results come back abnormal, then the doctors usually suggest drugs or surgery. And maybe that you can relate to that. And maybe you've tried the natural route, you've tried all the diets, you've tried exercise, supplements, therapy, all the doTERRA things, but there maybe is still something missing. And maybe your doctor says everything looks normal, but you've got symptoms, right? So though those symptoms might be common, they are not normal at all. If you have a symptom, things that are going on, things that don't seem right, something's wrong. And your doctor just might not be looking for those things specifically. Now, I woke up this morning with a scratchy throat and I'm losing my voice. So if you want all of the information on these slides, you'll have to take screenshots because I'm not going to be able to go over all of the information on the slides. I'll just warn you now. So be prepared. So diet and exercise are super important, but you know that there can also be people that look super fit, yet they're really unhealthy. And maybe you are doing all of the diet things that you think that you're supposed to, but you're still feeling like something's missing. So being able to do functional lab testing helps you to find that needs gap. In the FDN program that I did to become a functional practitioner, Reed Davis started that program, and he coined the term metabolic chaos, that it's the only non-diagnosis diagnosis that you need, because when you're starting to have symptoms and things are going wrong, your problem is metabolic chaos. It's not necessarily a specific diagnosis. It's that your body is not functioning as a whole. So for example, this presentation I took from 3 different presentations and put it all together. So in my stress and hormones class, we use this stress survey, and I ask people to look at this list and tell me, do you have anything that's showing up on here? Do you have 1 or 2, maybe 5 of these symptoms happening in your body? And if you are, that's not normal, because there's never a normal symptom. There's something that's a warning bell, something that is telling you, trying to signal that there's something wrong in your body. And when I was going into my health journey, I always thought that gut was always the problem, that your gut health was like the #1 causal factor. And this program helped me to see that stress is the #1 causal factor. But at first I was like, wait, no, there's no way that emotional stress is the causal factor for every disease out there. And he helped me to see that stress, the stress is like this much larger thing than just emotional stress. And we'll get into that. But 70 to 80% of all doctor visits are for stress related illnesses, and you might not realize that. So people, especially people that have high anxiety, are 4 to 5 times more likely to have a fatal heart attack or stroke. So it's really, really important to be able to manage your stress. And I think it was in our stress and hormones class, we talked about cortisol and making sure that you are keeping your cortisol at appropriate levels throughout the day. And so I wanted to show you how there is more to it than just emotional stress, because stress can be any influence, internal or external, that causes or leads to malfunction. So first, let's talk about mental, emotional, or spiritual stress. That's probably what when you think stress, that's what you go to, is that emotional stress. Fear, worry, excitement, anxiety. That is just one type of stress that it can affect your body. Now, one that people tend to ignore is your physical trauma, because any kind of physical trauma is a major stressor on the body. So I've had people that have said that they got into car accidents, or they broke a bone, or they had COVID, or something that was a major physical stressor on their body. And it's like their health just took a nosedive afterwards. And they're like, I don't understand why after I had this car accident, I have anxiety all of the time. Or for me, I had multiple things happen at one time, like a major emotional event, and I was sick, and I did some exercises I shouldn't have, and I had a baby. And so all of these things, all of these stressors just kind of built up. And then I was really struggling with anxiety and depression for the first time in my life. And I'm like, what's going on? I've never dealt with this before. And so I had to really dig into what's going on, because it wasn't just one thing. It could be multiple things. Now, the last type of stress is your chemical, biochemical, and functional. And this is where I have tried to put more emphasis in, because this gets shoved down so deep, it's ridiculous, that people don't think about the stress that certain foods, the stress that chemicals or metals or birth control, parasites, bacteria, fungi, sleep deprivation, all of these things can contribute to your emotional stress in a major way. But everything's connected, because we have our brain, right? And it's connected to the body through various systems, our blood, nerve, energy flow. And the purpose of all that is for function of the rest of the body, right? Like our heart, lung, liver, adrenals, they all are functioning together. We're designed to run on 100% function, right? But that would be normal. Normal is good, but we don't have to teach ourselves how to function. They know how to function. They know what their job is. We have to give ourselves the tools that they need to function at 100%. That's why I love doTERRA and I love the oils so much, because our cells know what to do with the oils. So if nothing else interferes with the cellular function, then our body's at a state of ease or homeostasis, if you will. And if it stays there with a very substantial amount of vital reserve. So you can stress things out a little bit. You can get sick. You could have a kid. You could get in a car accident. And then your body should be able to bounce back from that and be able to function optimally. So it can handle a little bit of that stress. But when you're constantly stressing it out and constantly throwing things at your body, whether it be emotional or biochemical or physical, then your body has a hard time keeping up. But you want to be able to bounce back. That would be a healthy person. But that's not how a lot of people feel. So then they reach out to their doctors and they're no longer at a state of ease. They're at a state of dis-ease. Something's malfunctioning. It's not 100%. Symptoms might be common, like I said, but that person is losing function. And that process is called metabolic chaos, the term that was coined by my mentor, Reed Davis. So that's when symptoms start to occur. People come to me because they want relief from those symptoms and want to find out what could be contributing to it. At a doctor's office, right, they're going to offer usually a pill, some sort of diagnosis, surgery, or something like that, because that's their two tools, a pill or surgery. We know that symptoms are a signal that something is wrong, but no symptom is normal. So we want to take a look at what could be going on. So with metabolic chaos, it's a state of where hidden stressors, HIDDEN stressors, have caused malfunction. But the symptoms appear so far downstream that it's impossible to predict what actually started causing that issue in the first place. Think of it like an orchestra. You know, when if you were familiar with how bands and orchestras work, that each circle here represents an instrument in that orchestra. Imagine that the hormones are the violin player, and that violin player gets off tempo. The dysfunction from the violin will disrupt the piano player next to him. Then the piano struggling to play on beat 2, and it messes up the harp player. So the dysfunction spreads and spreads, and eventually you don't even recognize the song because no one is playing together. The whole orchestra needs to be fixed and reset. We don't know how each instrument is affecting the dysfunction. So that's why we run all of the labs. When you're thinking of functional health, it's more than just running one blood panel and looking at that one blood panel to see what could be going on. Usually functional practitioners are wanting to look at stool samples, to look at your gut, and wanting to look at urine and saliva samples to look at your hormones, how your cortisol is doing, how your sex hormones are. I like to look at organic acids and toxins that could be in the system, or looking at your mucosal barrier function. It all connects, and sometimes it can be harder to find what's going on with a person unless you have that bigger picture. So your hidden stressors, HIDDEN, stands for, I must have taken that out. I'm going to skip a slide so you can see it. Hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, and nervous system. So these are clues that we are looking for in what could be causing that metabolic chaos. What is causing your whole system to be off and for those symptoms to be presenting? So what we focused on in the last class that I taught was the GI pathogen screening. We talked about how I look through a GI map and how I address the specific toxins and bacteria and fungi that I find there with doTERRA products. That's why we had it off the record, because there was a lot of non-compliant things that were said. And to protect myself, we didn't have that recording. So I'm sorry if you didn't see it live, but if you'd like to have a talk about this and what that means, more in depth, please feel to reach out to me, and my contact info is on the last slide. So that was what we talked about in our last class, how to address all of these bacterial, fungal toxins, these things that came up on stool screening. And this is a major part of gut health, right? Being able to address all of the bad bacteria that is constantly attacking you in your gut is super, super important. Like, one of the main things when I have people that come to me with hormone issues, like women going through perimenopause, I'm like, I know this might sound funny, but the first thing we're going to do is heal your gut and balance out your minerals. We're not going to directly address your hormones right now because your gut's a mess. And that happens with every client I've ever had. I've never had anybody that didn't need to do gut work. Then next, what's really important is cutting out foods that are causing a stress on your body. So food sensitivity testing, there's a lot of different options out there for food sensitivity. Some people do the muscle testing. I've done muscle testing with my babies when they were, before I wanted to do blood draws with them. We were able to cut out foods that were causing major eczema issues with them. For me, the food sensitivity testing was huge because my fatigue was being caused by my foods. There were times where I would eat like a banana and it was like somebody gave me a tranquilizer, like knocked me out. I could not function. So being able to cut out those foods that were causing that stress on my body was really important for helping me with the overall stress levels and just helping me to function. Today, I want to teach you more about the mucosal barrier because this is something that often gets overlooked because sometimes maybe you've done the doTERRA 90-day reset or you've done the doTERRA 30-day cleanse and you're like, I'm still having these issues. I still have allergies and stuff and it's just not going away. And usually it's because you haven't gone the full step of healing your mucosal lining, even if you've gotten rid of all of that bad bacteria. So I often do a mucosal barrier assessment, which looks at zonulin, DAO, which is diamine oxidase, to determine if somebody has leaky gut. So I'm going to walk you through that so you kind of understand what that is. We have mucosal barriers all over the body. We talk a lot in doTERRA about the blood-brain barrier. The blood-brain barrier is a mucosal barrier in the brain. But we have them in our gut, we have them in our eyes, in our oral cavity, urinary tract, all over the body. So when I'm talking today, we're going to talk primarily about the one in your gut, but know that when we're talking about healing the one in your gut, everything you're doing for healing the one in your gut is going to help heal the ones all over your body. I had one client come to me who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I'm pretty sure her leaky gut was the worst I had ever seen. And so I had to explain to her and her husband that that her Alzheimer's issues and stuff she had going on in her brain was severely affected by what was going on with her gut. And that was hard for them to take, at first, because they're like, I don't understand how the mucosal lining in my gut is affecting the Alzheimer's in the brain. So just think about your body being as a whole. Everything is connected. Everything is designed to work together. So as you heal one part of your body, it's going to help other parts of your body to function more optimally. So looking at the mucosal barrier, this is a close-up of that mucosal barrier, mucosal lining. This is the first layer is the internal cavity of the intestine called the lumen. So you can see that that's up at the top here. This is where food particles, normal bacteria, and unfriendly flora, like think bad bacteria, from the stomach to the large intestine. Under the lumen is a thin layer of epithelial cells. These are closely bound together by they're called tight junctions. The epithelial cells make up a single layer protecting the immune system underneath. The lamina propria, down here on the bottom, you can see the labels off here on the side. The lamina propria houses the gut immune system. Sig-A, or secretory IgA, is produced here and is excreted through the epithelial cells to the lumen up here. The lamina propria is where the gut connects to the bloodstream, making immune function here critical to survival. So if you want to know how well your immune system is functioning, Sig-A, or secretory IgA, is something that you can test to see how your immune system's doing. If it's really, really high on your testing, like crazy, crazy high, that means something is in your body that is stressing it out, making it freak out, and trying to work like overdrive to try to help your immune system to recover from whatever is attacking it. Or if it's really, really low, then it's like, oh, you probably have been doing damage to your gut for a really long time, and it's been so stressed out for so long, it's giving up. So that can give you clues into what to do to help your body, to help with your immune system to heal if you find that you're getting sick all of the time. Let's look closer at this mucosal barrier to see for nutrient absorption, because the intestinal mucosal barrier absorbs your nutrients. So you could be eating all kinds of good food, have the best diet, but if your mucosal barrier is not absorbing those good nutrients and bringing them into your body, you could be severely malnourished. You could be 400 pounds and be severely malnourished. Just because you're eating a lot of food doesn't mean that you're getting the nutrients into your body, into your cells that it needs. So we have to make sure that these are healthy, because these little folds, so the intestine's a long tube with embedded folds to increase the surface area. So you have lots of places for those nutrients to go in. Then the folds have like finger-like projections called villi. And then the top of the epithelial cells contain, they also have the microvilli. So you can see that in this picture over here on the right, which makes up the brush border. The villi stands tall and they wave flexibly in the gut lumen, pulling the nutrients in, passing them through the lamina propria and into the bloodstream to be utilized into the body. However, think about that. Like if they're pulling things down into your bloodstream, essentially, there's got to be things in there that we don't want to pass through, right? Because when you think of having like all the bad guys, the things that you don't want to pass through, sometimes those can come through too. If you have leaky gut, I find that I ask people, do you know if you have leaky gut? And they'll say, well, no, I don't have that. Like they think, no, I don't poop my pants because leaky gut, that's what it sounds like, right? It sounds like things are coming out that shouldn't be coming out. But that's not what it means. It means the gut lining in your gut is allowing things through that into the lamina propria that shouldn't be getting down in there. And the reason is because there's these tight junctions. Everything's supposed to be like this. These first three right here, there's supposed to be normal tight junctions right there where nothing's getting through unless it's supposed to. Because that term I mentioned earlier, zonulin, triggers things to get through those tight junctions that should. It's like think of like those when you're in the subway and those doors, you like slide a card and the doors open and they close behind you. That's what the tight junctions are supposed to do, open and close. But if you have a leaky gut, if it's inflamed, if things aren't functioning the way that they're supposed to, they're going to look more like on the right here where stuff is just floating down into that lamina propria and into your bloodstream that shouldn't. So that could be triggered. The leaky gut could be caused by dietary proteins, by low stomach acid or lack of enzymes, antibiotics, infections, blood sugar issues, antibodies, pregnancy, emotional stress, menopause, toxins, food allergies, food intolerance. So if anybody has allergies, whether that's seasonal allergies, food allergies, any kind of intolerances, you've got a leaky gut. Because until that gut is healed, your body's going to keep reacting to things. We're going to talk about histamine and DAO in a minute. But your body's constantly trying to get rid of those things as it sees as invaders, foreign invaders. Anything that's going to get down through those tight junctions that shouldn't get down is seen as an invader. So I still struggle with things that are healthy, like avocado and banana, because my body hasn't fully healed from it. I have a latex allergy, and the cross-reactive proteins are similar to banana and avocado. So those are healthy foods, right? But because my body sees them as invaders, my body has a high histamine reaction to those invaders because they're getting down into my bloodstream where they shouldn't be getting. This graphic here is a little more clear, so I wanted to add this one as well. So you can see normal gut on the left, leaky gut on the right, where you've got bacteria, viruses, and things that are getting through, toxins that should not be getting down into the bloodstream. We don't want that at all. We want to make sure that there's tight junctions, everything's staying closed when it should be closed and not opening unless it needs to. And then when it does open, it closes really quickly. So you can test for zonulin to see if you have a leaky gut. Now these next slides, like I said, I combined multiple slides. I'm not going to be reading all of these. If you want them, make sure you take a picture. So zonulin is that protein that is basically telling those tight junctions to open real quick, open and close, open and close. If you have too much or high zonulin, then it's going to be open too much, too long, too wide, any of those things where all the bad guys are getting down through those tight junctions, and we don't want that. So you can test for that. I typically like to test for in a dried blood spot test. You can add those on to some stool testing, but it's I've heard, and it is debatable, where it's not as accurate. But if you want to know, like, oh, do I have a leaky gut? Could my food allergies and these problems be caused by that? And I'll show you symptoms oh, maybe I won't show you of high, I will at the end, of having leaky gut and high zonulin. So we'll get to that. Now, I mentioned histamine. Histamine is a naturally occurring compound in the body. It's also found in a lot of foods, but our body naturally produces it. And in a response to an allergic reaction or injuries. So think of histamine like Superman flying around in the gut lumen, trying to catch all the bad guys that are trying to get down through those tight junctions. So Superman's like going on overdrive, trying to clean everything up. And sometimes you've got so much going on, this Superman can't keep up, or Superman has to like duplicate himself so that there's multiple Supermans flying around. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a terrible analogy, but think of it trying to handle all of the bad guys that are coming in that you want to keep control of. So sometimes your body's histamine reaction can go on overdrive, and sometimes it can create too much histamine. So symptoms of high histamine would be right here. Most people think it being runny nose or sneezing, congestion, like the kind of thing that you would get from your environmental toxins, right? But it could be headache, migraine, it could be dizziness, it could be problems with your menstrual cycle, it could cause issues with your heart rate, your blood pressure, issues with memory, your body temperature, circadian rhythm, so many different things. So this could be caused by multiple things. We talked about all of the things that might contribute to this, but basically it's just having an unhealthy gut and an unhealthy mucosal barrier. So here's some causes. I mentioned some of them earlier, but this breaks it down a little bit more. Things that could be causing these issues with high histamine, and ultimately it's an unhealthy gut and an unhealthy intestinal lining or a leaky gut. Now, low levels of histamine can also be a problem, and those could cause fatigue or problems sleeping. You could be really irritable, having depression and anxiety, have blood pressure issues. So it's not like we only want to have low histamine. We want it to be balanced. We want it to kind of go up and down. If you're dealing with things that need that histamine to kick in, we want it to kick in, but then it needs to like normalize, right? We don't want it high or low. Here's some causes of low histamine levels. I had extremely low histamine levels when I tested mine, and I couldn't figure out what was going on until I did my minerals and realized that I had copper toxicity. So sometimes you kind of have to dig and be your own health detective, or work with a functional practitioner that is your health detective, because there's a lot of things that could cause it. If you are a chronic Benadryl or Claritin user, that could also affect it. Now, DAO, diamine oxidase, is an enzyme that comes in to counter the histamine, and it breaks down the histamine, because if your body's shooting off histamine to deal with all of these bad guys, we need to break down that histamine, or you're going to have high histamine issues all the time. So you have to have enough DAO to counteract the high histamine, and that will happen if you have a healthy gut. But if you're struggling with it, like let's say your DAO is completely tanked, there's supplements that can help with that. So instead of using Claritin, instead of using an antihistamine, because there's a reason your body's having a histamine reaction, there's something that is either external or internal that's affecting it. Your body's normal reaction is to have those histamines. So don't use the antihistamines, because that could make the problem worse over time. Instead, using something might be appropriate for you is using DAO that can help to break down the histamine naturally. Now, this DAO, I don't believe that there is, I'd have to research to see if there's a vegan like type of DAO, but as far as I know, the ones I use are not vegan. So if you're vegan and you need something, I could probably research that and find something for you. Here's some symptoms of low DAO. So not having enough diamine oxidase to break down your high levels of histamine could cause symptoms of low DAO could cause some of these things right here, like even MS and neurological conditions, rheumatoid arthritis, anxiety and depression, all kinds of things. So all of this contributes to having a leaky gut. Not having a healthy gut and not having a healthy mucosal barrier can affect the entire body, can affect your brain, your sinus and mouth, your adrenals. So if you've been struggling with what most people consider adrenal fatigue and you have cortisol issues, but you've never looked at really healing your gut, that is one of the first steps. If you're having joint issues, rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, headaches, colon issues, skin and thyroid, maybe you've got lots of eczema. If you're having those kinds of things and you haven't addressed your gut, that's where you need to start first. Because you may have a couple symptoms, like maybe you don't have a whole lot going on and maybe you just think it's not that big of a deal, but there could be a much larger issue going on under the surface that you might not be aware of. And you don't have to live like that. So if you help give your body the tools that it needs to function, like a proper diet, good rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplements, that is a major part of helping the body to heal at a functional level, everything all working together. So we want to be able to coach down that metabolic chaos, like all of the different factors, all of those hidden stressors that are contributing to your health issues. We want to coach those down and coach up your vital reserve by improving your diet, your rest, your exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation. So you have to adopt a program to kind of make a plan for that. And there's things that functional practitioners can help, but also doTERRA has the wellness pyramid. And the wellness pyramid is very, very, very similar to what I have learned in my functional health courses. So we're wanting to help the body to heal as a whole, because you can opt in for the self-care model and look at what's going on in your body and look to heal, or later on down the road you could be forced in a disease care model, and we don't want that. We want you to have foundational wellness like doTERRA has been teaching us, and using these building blocks of health for so many years. So with this, if you're dealing with health issues, you can't ignore one of these levels. It has to be overall everything in your life, right? But specifically today, I'd say we're talking more about reducing toxicity and your nutrition and digestion. And one of the major ways to do that is with the 90-day reset. And I know that you've had other teachers on here teaching classes and talking about foundational wellness and the 90-day reset. I know Dr. Von Watts just a few months ago talked specifically about that. And we talked about this during the GI map call. So I wanted to be available to talk more in depth about this. But the thing is that you can't heal your mucosal lining until you have done major gut work, right? So when we talked about the toxins, the fungi, the bacteria that might be overgrowing in your gut, that has to be addressed first. And the best way to do that is by attacking it with something like this 90-day protocol. So let me dig into this a little bit more, because month one is preparing the soil. We want to open up those detox pathways, your liver, kidneys, colon, lungs, skin. You want to make sure that you're having at least 1 to 2 bowel movements a day, but really 1 to 3 is ideal. And they need to be healthy, like the shapes, the size, shape, and consistency of a peeled banana. Like, you have to have really good, healthy bowel movements as you're working through this. So if you don't have that, don't move on to month 2. Keep working on month 1. And you can make sure that you're doing that. If you have a lack of magnesium, might be an issue. If you're not using enough magnesium, you could use that topically, and make sure that you're having healthy bowel movements. One thing that I think that the doTERRA cleanse was missing before was this Mito2 Max piece, because you need to have enough cellular energy to be able to detox. So I'm so glad that Dr. Watts suggested adding the Mito2 Max to this first phase, because your cells need to have that energy to do the work that you need to do in the first month to heal and to filter things. Another addition that I do for my clients is castor oil packs. So we use the Zendocrine oil over the liver and then do a castor oil pack. And I have them wear it during the day instead of at night. I love the Queen of the Thrones castor oil packs. And so that's usually where suggest that they buy them from, and wear them while they're doing chores around the house or something, just for a few hours, a few times a week, to add to this phase of the healing process. Detox bath, like Epsom salt baths, is a really good idea too. Then when you're ready to move on, oh, if like I said, if you're not having regular bowel movements, or you're feeling a little crummy in this first month, keep doing this protocol until you're feeling better or your bowels have like regulated. If they take a really long time to regulate, you can reach out to me, reach out to whoever you go to for your health advice, and be like, okay, I've been doing this protocol and I'm still not pooping okay, because it could be a food sensitivity issue. It could be more going on than that you need to address in other ways. Then when you're ready to go, all those detox pathways are opened up. Next month is pulling the weeds. This is where you're going to be addressing those pathogens, the bad guys, the bad bacteria in your gut. Now, I love the GX Assist. It is, I know I talked about it a lot in my GI map class. Like, my colleagues sometimes have problems with the products that they use to be able to kill off some really nasty bugs. And the GX Assist works better than anything that I have seen out there, but it's intense. So not everybody can handle you doing the GX Assist right away. So you can use the oils that are in it on the bottoms of your feet, ease into it, incorporate good coconut oil into your life. But and I also don't recommend taking more than one GX Assist at a time. Like, the bottle says 1 to 3. Don't take 3 at a time when you're brand new to GX Assist. Just 1 at a time, 1 a day, and try to work up. If you can work up to 3 a day, that's amazing. If you know that you've done some testing and you've got some really nasty little bugs you're working with, I have personally used 6 GX Assist a day, but I had some nasty, nasty buggies that I was dealing with. So it's a good idea to work with a functional practitioner who could help guide you through that if you think you're dealing with something more than just needing like a typical gut cleanse, just to like a gentle one to kind of clean things up. This is a great protocol. Absolutely love it. If you don't want to use the DDR Prime oil, you can totally buy the capsules. I prefer the capsules, and then I use the Zendocrine oil instead of the soft gels, because I put that on my castor oil pack. But doTERRA already has these kits put together. So back to month 1, they've got this listed as the 90-day reset month 1, then 90-day reset month 2. So you can buy these as a kit to make it easier for you, or you can pick and choose if you want to kind of change up what you want your program to look like. Then month 3, this is like watering and fertilizing. This is adding some nutrients back to your gut and after you have cleaned up stuff. So the MetaPower collagen, the collagen peptides in that will help a little bit with healing your mucosal lining. But I think that most people that have done severe damage need a little bit more work. And I'll talk about some products that I use that I add in and use alongside with doTERRA. You can make some changes in here. Like, if you don't like the tangerine, you could use lemon, but tangerine has a higher D-limonene content. So it's going to be helpful for your natural glutathione production in your body. So you can make some changes, but this is a general 90-day protocol. Some people need to do more than 90 days. I know that I had to do like 120 days on a really major gut cleanse that I did. So if you feel like you need to do it longer, then do it longer. And it's okay to do GX Assist for multiple months. I usually don't have people use it for more than 60 days at a time though. So if you feel like you're needing it longer than that, then maybe you should reach out and we can talk about maybe why you think that you need that, because maybe there's something else like exposure. Maybe you're living in mold or something where you're constantly battling it and not able to get ahead. Because this 90-day reset you should notice some good improvements as long as you are combining that with a good diet. I really like the Whole30 protocol. You could do the Whole30 for all 90 days, and cutting out sugar and cutting out processed foods, you'll notice really big improvements in your life. So again, this is the 90-day reset protocol. Here's the full thing flowing month 1, 2, 3. You can get each one of those months as a kit. Search it on doTERRA's website. They're adding more resources coming up soon. So if you're needing or wanting more resources for that, they should be out soon. But like I said, there's some things that I add to this, especially with my functional health clients. You might be tired of listening to my classes and hearing me talk about binders, but binders are super important. This is the one thing that I think that doTERRA is missing from their 90-day protocol. I have been asking them, but it does not look like it's going to be something they're going to be producing for us. So it's something that you're going to have to be getting elsewhere. My favorite binder is the biotoxin binder from Cellcore. Cellcore has like the best binders out there. All of them are just amazing. And I use them for different things, especially their parasite cleanse. So if you're wanting to do a parasite cleanse, they have the best one out there. The downside to Cellcore is that you have to have a practitioner code. So I gave you my practitioner code, but reach out to me so that I can help you if you're wanting to order from them. But that code gives you access to order anything on their website. Some other ones that I've recommended is Biocidins, Botanicals, GI Detox Plus, and then Quicksilver Scientific. They have an ultra binder. However, the downside to these two binders is that they have activated charcoal in them, and charcoal has to be separated from everything else. So if you're on any medications or you want to take your VMG, you have to take these binders like an hour or two away from them. So that kind of sucks. But humic and fulvic is one of my favorite binders, and that's what's in this biotoxin binder because it's a lot easier to use with your supplements. When Dr. Watts was on here, he did recommend binders from Mother Earth Labs. I've never used them. He recommended them, so I wanted to mention them, but I've never personally used them, so I can't vouch for them. I do love the Cellcore. It's the binder that I have had the most significant results with, and I had severe uranium toxicity that I found a few years ago. And
Alicia,
nothing
before you move on quick, can you repeat what your practitioner code is? Because I don't know what the difference between a 0 and an O maybe.
Oh, that's a good question. C9G3. I think that's an O0FJ. You can email me and I will give you the link for sure, or I can make sure that you're added in there and you can order. Sorry about that. That is confusing. I don't even know what it is. I just copy and paste it.
Thank
Uh,
you.
okay, so one more, actually, I have two more sets of supplements. We talked about using the GX Assist and getting rid of all the bad bugs, right? And that is what I use with all of my clients. But usually people need more than just the Meta Power Advantage to be able to heal severe mucosal barrier support. And the number one supplement that's recommended for that is L-glutamine. Now, some people can't tolerate L-glutamine. You'll know real quickly if you can't. So if you try it and you feel like really anxious and hyped up and just feel off, then you are one of the people that cannot break down L-glutamine. So that there's other options like this Mega IgG 2000 is a colostrum supplement that I have my clients use for just 30 days, usually just one bottle of it, and it helps a lot. Mega Mucosa is very popular with my colleagues. I personally haven't used it because it comes from, it has some um, beef products in it, and I can't do beef just yet. My kids and I love this Leaky Gut Revive from Dr. Amy Myers. I'm actually drinking it right now. They crave it. If they see me drinking it, they want to have their own cup. My 2-year-old brings it to me and begs me to drink it. It's like, and I don't mind giving it to them because it's got healthy ingredients and it's good for their gut. They've got allergy issues too. So I love that they love to drink it, and I love drinking it because it tastes good. I tend to dilute it a lot more because it has stevia in it. So if you can't do stevia, this is not a good option for you. But it's too sweet for me, so I always add more water. But that's my absolute favorite. I get all of these supplements on FullScript. So if your practitioner is giving you access to a FullScript account, you can get them on there. If you don't have a practitioner and you would like to be able to order them on FullScript, feel free to email me and I can get you hooked up so you can order them. I think everybody should have access to be able to order supplements that they can trust, and do not order them on Amazon because you can't trust Amazon with your supplements. Hopefully you've learned that they sell all kinds of terrible supplement things and stuff on Amazon. So avoid it. We talked about high histamine and doing a DAO supplement if you have too high of histamine and not enough DAO to kind of break down that histamine. This is my favorite DAO supplement from Seeking Health, Histamine Digest. They offer it in a 30 capsule and a 90 capsule. So you can try it with the less capsules. If you love it, you can save money and get more. But also, we've got doTERRA stuff that helps. Lavender is a natural antihistamine. So instead of using your Claritin and your Benadryl, make sure you're trying the Tri-Ease or the lavender, lemon, and peppermint in a shot glass or something first before you're going to trying to use any antihistamines. You don't want to cause further damage by using the antihistamines. Instead, try to go the natural route. And these are great ones to help while you are getting your gut healed. Okay, and there is my contact information. That's my email. You can check out my website if you'd like to see a little bit more about functional health. And now I'm going to turn it back to Sandy and open it up for questions after she stops the recording.